All right. Hello, Lazy Millennials. Welcome to the next episode of the Lazy Millennial Lounge. I'm so excited to introduce you all to Jennifer Jackson. Hi, Jennifer, and thank you for being in the lounge with us today.
Hi, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, I think that you're going to be able to provide a lot of good insight to a lot of the millennials out there who are interested in figuring out what they want to do with their hobbies, their interests, and how they can use those to help better the lives of other people. And that's exactly what you do, I believe, as a millennial transition coach. And you will, of course, go into a little bit more about what that means as you introduce yourself and whatnot. But I just think it's really cool that as a millennial yourself, you've offered the services based on things that you've learned in your transitional period after school and graduation, and are using those skills to help other people. I just think that's really, really cool. And so I commend you for doing that. And for, it's a struggle sometimes to be a millennial in this world, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah, it is. So, thank you for having me. And so, yeah, I definitely started this out of my own personal challenges that I had when I graduated. So, I kind of wanted to be a resource for other people going through that same transition to make it easier for all possible.
Mm-hmm. So how long ago, if you don't mind me asking, did you graduate, and where, like, how did you come up with the concept of doing this? Was it before you graduated or after, or what was the timeline like?
So I graduated in 2014. I actually got my MBA, which was like, so I really thought I was doing something. I'm like, oh my God, I have 2 degrees. Like, I know things, of course. So, but I did a 5-year program. So I kind of went straight through. I didn't work for 2 years before I got my MBA. Okay. So I was still like kind of coming off an undergrad mindset. Like, I had never really been not a student before. Right. And so I graduated in 2014, and then I had a job offer. I was feeling myself, like, I got an offer. I'm good. I moved right. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be making money. So I was a business major. And so, I came out and they were paying us good money. And I'm like, I'm going to be good. I got good grades. I did everything I was supposed to do, because they tell you to go to school, go to college. I got 2 degrees. I'm here. I thought I had arrived. Like, I would have the answers. Mm-hmm. And that is not what happened at all. So I graduated and I moved to DC. Okay. I started my job. And in that same month of moving to DC, like, I had a new apartment. I had new roommates. It was like everything was like a crazy life transition. So it was all these things going on. And I think we had 3 days of training, and then we were supposed to be like on the job. Mm-hmm. And it was like the most loose training ever. It was just like not very structured. And this is my first actual like real corporate job, benefits and all this stuff. And so they're asking us questions like, oh, do you want health insurance? Do you want DMO or PPO or HMO? And like, well, this covers this, but not.
Let us know in a week, please.
It's crazy. It was like, no, a couple of days. And I was like, okay, whatever. Because you can get an HSA or you can get this. I was like, I don't know what any of these things mean. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I had no answers. And then I was picking out like, oh, now you have to choose your 401k and you have these investments in here and there's this. And I was like, I was overwhelmed with the entire process. But then like, I was new on the job, so I didn't want to seem stupid. So I didn't like questions.
You feel like you're supposed to know that, right? Because you're a graduate and you're
smart. I'm like,
and you got 2 degrees. You're supposed to know.
It was crazy. So I was looking around the room. I'm like, oh, everybody else ain't asking no questions. I ain't gonna ask no questions. I'm not gonna seem stupid. It's my second day on the job. So it was just crazy. So I was going through all these decisions, kind of researching, trying to figure out what these things meant. Because I never learned this in school. Like, so maybe somebody else did. As in my curriculum, I wasn't explicitly like taught how to make these decisions. But I found like it's crazy because generally most people are making these choices, like most people or retirement plan or just stuff like that, but I didn't know how to make those choices. And so I was in a place where I was making the transition, living on my own, paying all my bills. My mother was like, you are off my phone bill, you are off my phone bill, like, all of my bills. Like, you're done. So I was doing that, and during that time period my car stopped working, like that same week. So this week was crazy. So my car, I had a 96 Honda that I had since I was 16 years old. Like, shout out to her because she got me off college. She got me where I needed to be. But I was driving home from Walmart, like buying stuff for my new apartment, and in the middle of the road, my car just stopped. It was done. And I was like, okay, guys, so this is what we doing. It was just a crazy experience. And so that week I was, making these like life decisions about my insurance and transition, all of that. And then I was buying a car. And so I had never purchased a car before myself. And coming from like, I didn't have a car to go shop around at the dealership.
Right.
So I'm like Ubering and struggling. It was the struggle, like asking my roommates for rides, trying to figure it out. And so it's like a pressure to get the car because I need the car to get around the city,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't have a car. It was just a lot. And then going to the dealerships, then like people was trying to scam me, trying to get over on me. Like,
Of course.
oh,
it's a young lady. She needs a car desperately. Like your car doesn't work, so you got to get a car. It's not an option.
Damn, it was just like, I just felt so played that whole week. I just had a breakdown. I was like, this is too much. I thought it was going to be good, and I just wasn't. And so that was a moment that I had. I kind of was like, this shouldn't be this hard. I feel like I did everything right. And so that kind of sparked the idea to be like, I want to learn more about this information. I'm going to make a point to figure out what these answers are in a very like plain text, simple way so I can learn for myself, but also tell other people, because I remember I was having this conversation with my roommate and we started at the same time at the same company. And she thought her 401k was a savings account. And it is not. It's like crazy stuff like that. And she was like an engineer, like making big money, like thought her 401k was a savings account. And it's just like, you can be super smart and educated and have your degrees and still not know this stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of, from there, I was like, I'm going to make a point to tell people because I had no idea.
I mean, I'm stressed just listening to you recount that week. Like,
it was stressful.
I mean, I think about like my first job after, so I did undergrad and then I went to pharmacy school. And then once I finished pharmacy school, like that was my first entry into the real world or whatever. And like you said, it's like, oh, choose a 401k, choose an HSA. I didn't even really know how health insurance worked. Like, I didn't know for real what a deductible was, what a premium was. I definitely didn't know what a HSA was. Like, this is a new language. And so especially with finances, I think about it almost like health literacy. Like, you can be a brilliant, intelligent person, but when it comes to healthcare and medical terms, you might not have any idea what any of that stuff is. That doesn't mean you're not educated. That just means that's not your language. It's the same thing with finances and insurance and all of that stuff. And then, when we get out of school, then we're expected to just know it and be able to make all these instant decisions. And it does not quite work like that.
It does not.
So you had this revelation that you wanted to, help other people figure this stuff out as you were figuring it out as well. So like, what was the timeline, or like, what was the conception of ADLT 101? Like, was that immediate? Like you went home and was like, I'm starting this right now? Or what was that like?
No, so it wasn't immediate. Like I said, it was just, at first, it was me trying to figure out the information for myself. Like, I need to learn this. And then so I've always just throughout my life kind of like been the cheap friend. Like, I've always just been like, oh, stuff about money. Jennifer probably knows because that's who I am as a person. Mm-hmm. And I'm just a person who seeks knowledge. Like, I like to, before I make a decision, like be all the way informed. Mm-hmm. And so because of that, like my friends, I'm kind of like the go-to person. Like my friends will call me like, oh, how do I increase my credit score? Oh, Jennifer, what is this? I got a job offer packet. Like, what does this mean? People were just naturally asking me this. And I was answering them because I'm like, okay, we're friends, like whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I was just doing that for a while. And then about 6 or 7 months into my job, I was like, oh, I should do a workshop at my school, at my alma mater. So, like, just not even thinking of it as a business, just like, I want to tell people this before they graduate.
Right.
This was about to happen. And so I did that, and it was crazy. I got like over 100 people came, and I got awesome feedback. Like the professors were telling me, like, I love this. This was awesome. And so I was like, oh, this is great. Like, I want to do this more. And then
when you did that, how did you publicize? Like, how did you go about publicizing it and getting that opportunity and stuff?
So it was my alma mater. So I had graduated the year before. So it was
okay. So you still knew people.
It really wasn't hard.
Okay.
So I graduated. I was in a sorority. So my neos came out. They promoted it. It kind of just happened. I hit up my school counselor that I had down there, and so I didn't put forth a lot of marketing effort. Really, It was a matter of just like I kind of already had that relationship with the school because I went there.
Okay.
And, people came out, and I was like, wow, people came out, and I got a really, really good feedback. And so that made me kind of get more momentum. Like, oh, this is great. Like, people want to learn this, and this is nice. I'm helping people. And then from there, I still didn't make it a business. Like I still was like, oh, I'm doing this thing. I started writing some blogs, like I made a website, but I was just doing it. I didn't really feel like, I didn't quite make it a business until like last year, in June of last year. And I was like, okay, like I got it together. I was like, this is going to be a business. It's going to be a thing. And so that, it was kind of a journey, but I love to do this. So it's like, it doesn't really feel like work. Like I'm going through my life. Thing about it is like, it's from my personal experience. So
Right.
I'm not a finance accountant. I'm not a financial advisor. Like I don't hold the series certifications or anything like that. It's just me talking to people in a very like genuine, like, hey girl, here's what's up. Like, let me tell you about these things type of way. And I feel like it's helpful because as I go through life's journeys, I'm able to just share my experiences and teach from that.
Yeah. And I think that's a good approach. Like a lot of people can relate to that more than if you were like a financial advisor or some expert, because you've gone through the same journey, they know that you can relate to the journey that they're currently going through, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that helps you relate to people better.
Yeah, like, so when I go to schools now, I get a lot from the students. So I'm a little older than the students. But even when I go, like, I try to make my workshops really fun. Like, we're dancing, we're having fun, like, talking about music, culture. Like, I really try to make it not like a classroom and just be like I said, very, like, familiar. Kind of like, okay, this is my friend, come in and talk to me. Like, my big sister, like, hey, here's what's about to happen. That's like my.
So do you charge for the workshops, or how do you like, where does the monetization aspect of your business come in? Like, is it through the workshops or through other programs or services that you offer?
The schools will purchase the workshop. So they're
Okay.
usually free to the students to come out, because when I was a college student, I was poor.
Yes.
And so they're usually free to the students, and the staff or faculty purchase the workshops because they see the value add in their students. And like I said, a lot of schools don't have like a financial literacy program, or if they do, they weren't looking for people to come with different perspectives and just kind of looking to prepare students, especially like those junior, senior years, because you get your grades, you're doing what you have to do, you get a job, but it's those life skills sometimes that just like slip through the cracks. Like I feel like it could be a whole class. Like it could be a semester long class to learn this stuff. And
it
so
should be
like a workshop or an event. Which is why I also have, like, if somebody wants to take the workshop a little bit further, you can take like a course. So I have a course that's designed for people who are about to graduate, like 6 weeks, and kind of go through different stuff to like, okay, you're about to graduate, here's what's about to happen. And a lot of times people's parents will sponsor them to come through the program.
Okay. And what's that course called?
It's the post-grad prep course. So it's like, preparing you for postgraduate life.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. So do you work full time at that same job now still?
No, I left the job. So this is my office. This is where
Oh, awesome. So you're full-time ADLT 101 now.
Yeah, so this is, it's been a journey, but yeah, so I left, when did I leave? February of last year.
Okay.
Which was like, at the time, just like hindsight, it probably wasn't the best decision at the time, but like I'm making it work.
Well, okay, so when you were working, what was your time split like? Like, what percentage of your time were you spending working on this versus like percentage of the time that you were spending on work?
So it kind of gradually got more over time. So I feel like I didn't have a lot of clarity at first. Like I said, I was just doing it. I was like, I like this. I'm going to do it. It's fun. So I was just, I don't know. I was just like, okay, I'm learning about this thing. Like, oh, I learned this, another tax strategy. I'm going to write a blog about it, or I'm going to do this. So it was really passive. And then once I decided that I was going to make it a business, last year I went on a tour with my friend. It was like a countrywide tour. So he's really into like marketing and entrepreneurship and stuff like that. So we kind of collaborated and went on like an 8-city-wide tour. And so that was like super exciting. I got to really kind of expand my brand and do stuff like that. So I wrote a workbook that I sold on the tour, and really kind of ramped up through there. And then when I came back from the tour, I kind of revamped it. I've gone through a lot of iterations of like the structure of the business. So then I kind of more focus on like the workshops, personal. I have one-on-one clients too that I do as well. So I kind of restructured it, but it's been a learning process. So every, like the phase that I'm in now is more so like, workshops. I've done about 5 workshops so far this year, and I have one next week actually that I'm prepping for. So just lots of different stuff. The brand has really kind of expanded and grown, so every month is different, but it's an exciting journey.
And that's cool. I think when you see it expanding in ways that you didn't necessarily anticipate, because it tells you like what people want from you and what they want you to provide. So it's kind of like you don't have to do all the hard work of figuring out like what you want to talk about or like what kind of workshops you want to do, because people will start to like ask you and request certain things as they get to know like your brand and the things that you offer through it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm like.
Okay. So how do you, I know the first workshop you did that was with your alma mater, so, you know, that connection was a little more seamless, but how do you now go about like pitching different schools or different organizations that you do your workshops with?
So actually, so the last couple of workshops that I've done, people have reached out to me, which has been
Okay.
very interesting. So I'm glad to do that. Like it has. I'm like, wow, y'all reached out to me. This is awesome. That's like I restructured it. I'm like, oh, y'all are reaching out to me. So that's how I've gotten the workshops that I've done so far. And then every year I went to Hampton just as like a way of giving back.
Okay.
So I go back there and like give back to the students. But yeah, it's mostly been people reaching out to me so far. I haven't really like gone really hard. That's another thing. Like I haven't really gone real hard in like marketing it yet. So I'm like, I haven't put gas on it. So it's just like it's really been a blessing.
Have they found you through like referrals from other schools, or just like they came across your website and saw the stuff you offered, or do you know, do they tell you?
Some people have just like met me like in the city or in the area and then like later on been like, oh, hey, I remember this girl, she does this thing. I go to a lot of financial literacy events.
Okay.
Like this talking to people, like letting people know what I do. And then it doesn't usually happen like, immediately. Like they come back a couple later and be like, oh yeah, I remember you did this thing. So just kind of getting the word out, being around.
Yeah, networking. That's always a good strategy. So what advice would you give to, say, a millennial who's wanting to make that transition? Because you said you think you might have gone about it the wrong way when you left your job in February last year. So what would you suggest?
I would suggest like not having a savings goal, but having how much you want to be bringing in each month goal. So I feel like a lot of people focus on like, oh, well, how much money do I need to save up to leave? It's like, don't worry about that. Yeah, you want to have your emergency fund. You want to have your expenses covered. Like I make sure I have like if I didn't make $1, then I would have at least like a year's worth of expenses to be good, just for my personal sanity. But I feel like I should have had a monthly goal. Like, okay, I'm making over the past 6 months, I brought in X amount of dollars, and I know I have a strategy. I have a formula that's working, that's applicable, as opposed to just like, oh, I made a couple $1,000. Like, let me quit. Like, no, let's do this again, because just because you made some money this month doesn't mean you're gonna make money next month. And just like have a strategy around that that's duplicable. And just like I feel like a lot of times, especially in this culture, like people get hyped up in like these Instagram codes and like, oh, if you're working for somebody else, you're building up their dream. And, the only way to build wealth is to have your own business and all this nonsense. And I challenge people to really kind of look at themselves and be like, is this what you want to do? Because it's hard. Like, it is the hardest thing I've ever done in life, and I cannot stress that enough. And like I said, I think when I was quitting, I was really feeding into that. I'm like, I didn't like my job. I hated my job. I was stressed out. I was having panic attacks. Like I physically was getting sick. And so I allowed that to fuel me to leave, as opposed to actually like having a business with a real structure that was duplicable, that was like, could do something with. Like, so if you're somebody, what I would say to somebody, like if you're somebody who doesn't like your job, like do not let that be your motivation. Like that's not a reason to like go be full time, because they're not the same. Like I would find like if that's the case, first, before you try to do that, be in a situation to where you don't hate it, you have mental space. Like maybe your job is not giving you the time, like you're working overtime, so you don't have time to work on your business. Like find a role that's gonna like, while you're making money, getting money to fund your business. Because be clear, like I didn't have investors or anything like that. I funded my business. Find like a stream of income that's coming in at a place that you don't hate, that's not making you sick. Maybe it's part-time, maybe it's whatever. Maybe it's in the industry that can help that like your business is in, which is like something like that. And then focus on like, maybe tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna work on my business from 6 to 9 or 6 to 10, whatever the case may be, and like figure out what you're gonna do. Because like I said, when you're in a toxic environment and you're reading all these stupid quotes and you're seeing people on, you're like, oh, entrepreneurship life, working from a beach, blah, blah, blah. Like, that is not real. That is so not real. None of that is real. Like, it's hard. There's no blueprint. Like, I was a person, like I said, I went through school. It was, okay, go to college, went to college, get good grades, got good grades, get a good job, got a good job, and realize, like, this is not what I wanted. This isn't it. But after that, there's no more instructions. There's no, like you were saying, like, how do I market, how do whatever. This is just a lot of, like, I can't duplicate it because it's not a structure. It's like, oh, how do I do what you did? I don't know. I just showed up. Like, I just met this person. So it's hard for me to give somebody else the blueprint. And so I really would challenge people, like I said, you want to do this, like, do some self-searching. Like, ask your question, like, why do you want to start this business? Like, how are you going to feel when you go months and you've made $0? Like, are you still going to be passionate about it? Like, are you going to give up? What's your, like, not your plan B necessarily, but like, bills are real. So how are you going to pay your bills? Like, right. Healthcare, that was a huge thing for me. Like, there is no more employer-sponsored healthcare. So if it was not for Obama, I don't know what I would have done. Because I definitely was on Obamacare. Like, so you're trying to tell me if this didn't exist, I would be paying $200, $300, $400 for healthcare a month? That's insane. Like, when you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to build up your business, the last thing you want to do is like have something else like healthcare or, you know, bills or whatever, sucking up money from your business that you could be putting back in your business. Right. So I really challenge people to like reevaluate what your perspective is on like being an entrepreneur or whatever else, and like erase all of those preconceived notions and Instagram pictures and quotes and whatever else. Like, worry about some real stuff. Like, okay, numbers, how much am I making each month? Like, get yourself some accounting software, like figure out the numbers, like when you quit, so you don't have to go back or you don't have to like readjust. Because I spent a long time like figuring this thing out. Like, it was not pretty. And I'm just now starting to like, okay, this is what we're doing. It took a while. So I would challenge people to like really do some soul searching.
Yeah, this is very similar to what one of my other guests said. And the quote was, people like to think that they want to leave their jobs because they don't want to do something that they don't want to do. But when you go out on your own, when you become an entrepreneur, when you freelance, you're still going to have to do stuff that you don't want to do. It's just that you absolutely have to do it because you're completely dependent on yourself. Like, there's nobody else that's going to save you. So it's not like this entrepreneur life or own your own business life or whatever is going to save you from the responsibilities and from, you know, the grunt work. Like, you still have to put that in. It may be for a better cause if it's something that you are more emotionally connected to, but it doesn't negate the fact that like you got to do it. So like, I know I do see all those quotes and, you know, oh, sipping my mimosa on a Wednesday, whatever. Like, those people post the highlights of their life the same way you post the highlights of your life. Like, do you post yourself when you're laying in bed crying about, you know, whatever's going to happen the next day? Like, no, they don't either. So you don't see all of that behind the scenes, but like, it's there.
I'm telling you, like, please don't believe the hype. Because it's not real.
So what would you say is like one of the strategies that's helped you get through like the period of figuring out, you know, what you're doing and coping with the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur?
For me, when I first started, like, I first like was like, okay, what's going on? Like, I went to therapy, which is I think was very helpful. It kind of helped me. I did yoga. So I really liked yoga. It kind of slowed my mind down. It allowed me to just kind of be in another space. That was like, you know, mental things just to kind of keep me sane and just keep me focused. I would take some days where I was just like, I'm just gonna lay here today because I'm just not feeling it and I just don't feel good. And sometimes I needed that, and I just will watch Netflix and chill because I just like, I can't do this. And so I did that, and just like having good people in my space. Like I said, I went on tour with my friend, and he's like an amazing entrepreneur. He's been doing this for 10 years now, and he's killing it. And so like being around people like him, like my other roommate at the time, she's also an entrepreneur. So just like having people in my space that was familiar with what I was what I was going through because they had done it before, and like we're kind of further along in the game was very helpful. And so that's kind of how I was coping, and just like staying focused, like figuring out, okay, what is the one thing I need to do today? Like to move the needle forward and like do that and see stuff to completion. Like it was a journey, but like all those things kind of helped me get to like a more healthier place.
Okay. And you mentioned that you had like friends who are entrepreneurs too. Whereas the rest of your support system, like whether family or friends, were they mostly supportive of your transition, or did you have any pushback?
So my parents were kind of like, so what are you doing? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so they were like, okay, because for me, like my situation was like, so my mom, she pushed me. She was like, you're going to college, like whatever. So for them, I had made it. Like, you went to college, you got your degrees, you got this bomb job, like you corporate America bomb, like you did it. And so it was like, when I left, it was just like, well, what are you doing? Like, you the dream, because you're supposed to be doing. You just got here. What do you mean? Like, because for my parents, I think for a lot of like our parents' generation, it was just like they didn't have as many resources. They didn't have like the internet or to see different options and lifestyles. And so
Mm-hmm.
they'll be like, I mean, I was like, oh mom, like I hate my job, whatever. She was like, everybody hate their job, but
Right. It's
go
the
to
way
work.
of
Like,
life.
this is what happens. This is what you do. I was like, no, like, and because I've seen different options, I wanted something else, but they just saw, they were like, I got you here to this spot, like you worked really hard to get here, and you kind of like messing it up. But they have come around, and
Okay.
now they're like, okay, well, so now they can come visit us, and we can like, because my sister's an actress, and we can kind
Mm-hmm.
of hang out with them during the week or go visit them and stuff. So they've got more comfortable with it, but it was kind of a shock, and I actually didn't tell them for a while.
Yeah.
I was just like, kind of nervous. But like they've come around, and just like other people, not that they've been supportive, but my other friends have been supportive, but it's a unique situation to go through, like as an entrepreneur, if you've never done it before. Because
Mm-hmm.
as somebody who maybe is working a job, like a lot of my friends were working at the same job I was, and also hated their job. So like, oh, okay, this is great. Like, you've left this crappy job, and now you're doing great, right? Instagram posts, pictures. It's just like, no, that's not how it is like. And so it's hard to talk to somebody who is in a different situation. Like, they don't really empathize with it because they've never been there before.
Right.
So just a lot of different dynamics, and just kind of managing relationships, managing expectations, and knowing like who you can go to for what.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good that everybody's, mostly supportive, whether or not they understand the intricacies or not, at least they're there.
Yeah, I mean, because I thought my parents was like, as long as you don't come ask me for no money,
Yeah, because I ain't got it.
just
I
don't
did
come
what I
knocking
could.
my door, and we'll be straight. Like, and I'm like, fair. That is fair.
No, I feel like I would take the same approach. Like, I might not tell them right away because you just like, I don't even want to have that conversation. Like, I have to be in the right mind space to have this conversation with y'all. And I feel like I need to have answers to the questions that y'all are going to be asking. So, let me figure things out before we broach this conversation. What would you say your plan for this year is? Like, do you have an idea of where you want your business to go this year or beyond?
Yeah, so I did a lot of planning, and so this year, I've really been, like I said, focusing on the workshops. I like the workshops. I feel like I get to interact with the students. I get to come. It's the best for me because I get to plan. So I want to do as many workshops as possible. So if you have
Mm-hmm.
an organization, whether it be school, college, anybody who's like ages 18 to 23, that area, like, that's kind of where my sweet spot is, that I would come talk to, do a workshop, I would love to come out and do so. Work with
Okay.
in the area. And then also this year I'm doing the Adulting Academy. So I am doing so right now. I have one-on-one clients that I'm working with right now. So I have a limited number of people that I'm working with one-on-one, but this year, I have a goal of expanding to be able to work with more individuals. So I'll be announcing that a little bit later in the year to where I can expand it and have more people that are able to, if maybe you're not a student or maybe you're a young professional. So I have people that I work with all the way up to like 35. It just kind of ranges because I feel like when you graduate, that's when it hits you like, oh, this is kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
This like after post grad, and so I wanted to be able to help more people in like not necessarily a one-on-one way, but more like a group approach type of way. And so I'm building that structure out right now, and that should be launching in the fall.
Okay. Well, definitely let my people know because I don't know if we talked about this before I started recording, but I went to Emory for undergrad. And so like my NEOs have programs and, all the organizations there. I'm sure somebody could benefit from this information. So I'll definitely pass that along. All right. So as we wrap up, I have 3 questions that I like to ask at the end of these, and they're completely random. So you may be caught off guard, but that's okay. All right. So the first is, what is the last compliment someone has given you?
It has to be on that hair. Like, it has to be, like, everywhere I go, like, people are commenting on my hair. Like, people,
It's so beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. So people like always say nice things on my hair, and I appreciate it all the time. So that's what I get from.
Okay. What is your favorite song right now?
Ooh, my favorite song right now is "She Bad" by Cardi B.
Yes.
Because I love Cardi so much. Like, I'm a Cardi stan. Like, I love her. This album is so lit. And when Benjamin come on, I've been like, this is my I love it.
My favorites on the album are I Like It, Money Bag, and I Do. But I like She Bad too. That's a
She
good
Bad
one.
is my joint. I love. Did you see her Coachella performance?
No, I'm still in the middle of watching Beyonce's. I haven't finished hers yet, and then I have to watch
watched her
hers.
performance last night. When I say it was on the floor, it was God. It was an experience. It was amazing. Beyonce always gives me life, but right now I'm up in "She Bad" by Cardi B, so that's my favorite right now.
Okay, and the last one, is there a book that has helped you the most on your journey? And if so, what is it?
Yes. And so the book that has helped me the most would be The Alchemist.
That's my favorite book.
Yes, The Alchemist. And I love it because it's a story. It's not like, like a book with like, here are tips, and you kind of can take your own interpretation from the story.
Every time you read it, you find something else new.
I love it. And it's just like, it just reminds me like that, I forgot what it's like when one little thing goes good and then somebody's telling you like, yo, you're supposed to do this. And you keep moving forward. Every time something like I get a new gig or something happens, I'm like, this is the confirmation right here. So I love that book. I reread it periodically, and that's just like something for me to like really live by.
Yes, absolutely. Everyone should read that book. And everyone should look you up and look up ADLT 101. So can you let the millennials out there know how they can find you?
Yes, so you can find me at ADLT_101 on all platforms, and also at ADLT101.com. And so there I have like a lot of different resources. So right now I have like my resource guide that I made with all my links to, I'm real big on apps and websites and all this stuff. So kind of like a document there that kind of give you all the resources and tips, free tips that I found over the course of me adulting and figuring it out. So that's what I'm kind of sharing with people right now.
Cool. All right. Well, y'all can go check that out. And thank you so much, Jennifer, for chatting with us today. It was awesome.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.